All right, time to tap Mitchell in. Thank you guys for coming, and we will have Mitchell on in a second.
Hello, this is Mitchell.
Mitchell, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How are you? It's Adam Bongiovanni. How's it going?
Adam, good to hear from you. Great.
No, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, please. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
My God. I'm so excited to talk to you. So I've been doing my Mitchel Street research for the afternoon. So, and I found out I would say not too much about you, but what's there online. So we'll be learning more and diving into the world of Mitchel Street, which, by the way, you spell Mitchell the coolest way I've ever seen it.
I just thought I'd do it something different. Thank you.
Yeah, no, why be the same when you can be different, right? Like, I've never met another Mitchell spelled with one L. Is that something, like, have you seen that before, or is that just unique for you?
I just did it. It was something I thought of because, a long story short, I grew up on Mitchel Street, near Mitchel Street. So I thought, well, I can't be the street itself. So I thought, and that was actually my nickname growing up. So I thought I'd give it a little twist.
Honestly, that's amazing. I'm very jealous of your name. So let's go. Let's get right into Prophase, which was one of OnlineBookClub.org's Book of the Month. I think it was actually a few years ago. So you were one of the earlier Book of the Month authors, which is pretty cool to have you on the show. We've done a lot of interviews with different Book of the Month authors. And they've usually been edited and not live. You're the second author we've had live, so we do appreciate you doing this. So it's exciting. A little bit about on Prophase and what Prophase is about, and of course, like, we're only going to be here for 15 minutes, so I know I'm sure you're so tired of people asking you to give a description of your book, but I'm sure you're used to it.
Oh, I'm never tired. I really love it. It's really a coming of age story. It's young adult, but it's also adult. It's really for all ages. It's about a teen who really finds out she's someone different, and she ends up waking up to a world that is right beneath her eyes that she didn't know was there.
Wow.
And I really based it off of science, kind of, which I really enjoy as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So would you consider yourself a big fan of science, like growing up, and even when you were reading as a young kid, did you read a lot of science fiction or even science nonfiction?
Always, both science and science fiction. I was always involved in, like, hatching tadpoles and hatching butterflies, and so I really, really fell in love with nature and just how the universe works. It has always been exciting to me, and I wanted to see what someone would think or how someone would act if they could actually feel what another person was feeling.
Wow. And
how would that change your day? You know, how would that change how you're interacting with someone, whether they're happy or sad, or because I really feel it would change the world. So
wow.
I wanted to generate a story like that. You know,
that's amazing. No, and I don't think there's of course, everyone has different reasons to write books and different books in different genres, but I feel like that's one of the coolest answers I've been given. And so, writing Prophase, how long did that take? What kind of process was that?
It took a long time for me, because it really, really came from my heart. It was something that I wanted to entertain. I wanted to, but somehow change perspective sometimes. I know that's really hard to do, but I wanted to do a shift. So for me, I have to be in the right space at the right time and really sit down and maybe light a candle in a dark, and work on my thing. Because the book is definitely all about, like, auras around things, you know. And like I said, science has proved that everything gives off energy. Yeah. And Piper, the lead character, can see that.
Wow.
So it really changes her perspective.
And I like what you said about, I feel like you mentioned it changed her perspective, but the book kind of revolves around changing perspectives and hopefully giving the people who are reading a new perspective on whatever they're going through in life. And I feel like books are a great medium to have someone change their perspective on something they might be kind of rigid with. Because when you're reading a book, you're of course reading a story, but this is a whole new world that someone's created. So when you're picking up and learning these new characters and getting to know them, you're really diving into who they are and what they stand for. So I think above any medium out there, reading a book, even above watching a movie or TV show, reading a book, you're really you're really going to have a great opportunity to change your perspective. So I appreciate you saying that. And when people come up to you and say, okay, like Prophase was such a phenomenal book, and I've seen the reviews online, they're amazing. And our online book club, no problem at all. And our OnlineBookClub.org reviews for it are outstanding. So from you as an author, how does your perspective change just in the grand scheme of things when people come up to you and tell you how much they love your book?
I am so incredibly humbled when that happens. I'm blown away because it actually, this is kind of funny, but actually writing the book changed my perspective.
There you go.
Because these characters, I would create these characters, and some of them were in opposition, and some of them were in agreement, and I would really have to think, how would that feel like? You know, so it changed me as a person as well, and even Metaphase now is taking me to a whole different level. So I'm very humbled when anybody gives me any feedback on the book, because they bring very unique experience to it. Mm-hmm. And I love seeing the unique perspective as well as the shared perspective. Wow. It's mind-blowing.
That must be amazing, because you've created this world, and then not only are people kind of joining you into this world that you put together, but they're enjoying being in the world that you created. That must be such a cool experience that people come up to you and tell you how much they like your book enough to write another one. And let's talk a little bit about Metaphase. So when does the sequel to Prophase come out, and when are you? And I know you mentioned this to me before, but let the audience know when you plan on releasing this.
Oh, thank you. Metaphase is great. It's in final rewrite, and same thing with Prophase. There's artwork. There's 17 original watercolors in Prophase, wow. and same thing in Metaphase. So Prophase will be watercolors. Metaphase is oil paintings. There's about 15 original oil paintings in there. Wow. And so it's ready to come out, and it's going to come out on the equinox, which is kind of funny for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
March 20th. 2018. I'm very excited to get it out, and like I said, it's the next phase in the book. It's really a jump, and Piper really has to grow up, the lead character.
That's amazing.
And I think we all have to do that at that certain age. I think we all remember that, where or for people where you. Sorry, that was
no problem. No, it's your dog has a different perspective on what's going on outside right now, so it fits right in with our chat.
Yeah, she's the real Piper. That's her name.
There you go. Oh, that's amazing. That's cool. I love it.
Cool.
Yeah. So no, that's phenomenal. So, and another thing about like writing, of course, I know when you write one book, it's not that you have to jam everything in there, and of course when it's a standalone book, but it is tougher to really show the growth just using one book. So if you're going from one book to the next, and you really get to learn the ins and outs of what the character stands for, but also and you could really see the growth of the character.
I completely agree. And what I like about that is developing the characters of the books is I can make her more real. Yep. I can make her make mistakes. I can make her maybe choose the wrong thing and learn from it. Yeah. And that is part of growing up and just experiencing more. So I think having a trilogy or extended more than a standalone book, it gives an author or even the audience member a free ride to grow with the person.
I love that.
And that I think is really fun.
Yep. That is really cool to think about. And here's a question I have for you as an author, and I'm sure all authors do it differently, but if you obviously know you're writing a trilogy, so you've come up with you're nearing the release date of the second book in the trilogy. What happens? Are you planning for the third? Do you know what's going to happen? Like, how does the process go when you know there's going to be another book, but you haven't written it on pen to paper yet?
That's a wonderful question. From the very beginning, I mapped out what exactly I kind of wanted to happen, a very good skeleton structure of what should happen. And then I filled in the meat in the flesh, so to speak. So I'm well aware of what's going to happen in Anaphase. And I've actually started, writing the one or two things for Anaphase. And that's very exciting, too, to see it get to this phase and then to wrap it up and answer all the unanswered questions. Mm-hmm. But I think as a writer, I definitely needed to come up with a skeleton of what I wanted to say for the whole trilogy.
Yeah.
But I do allow that freedom to go off on different stories to fill in character development. I think is absolutely necessary.
No, I was just gonna ask that. Do you still give yourself the freedom, just in case like there's something you want to switch up? And you obviously answer that. I think that's really cool that you really map everything out, because if you, in all honesty, when you're writing the sequel, and there's something in the third book that happens, I feel like that it might coincide with something that happens in the second book and the first book. If you're kind of writing just loosely without any structure, it really could probably throw some wrenches in your plan or some problems. So I feel like you're doing it in the right way.
Yeah, an example of this, Metaphase is, I won't give too much out, but it's a little bit of a whodunit.
Oh, okay.
And I literally did not know who did it until the last chapter. I kept it that way.
That's cool.
I kept it that way. I didn't want to slant the story any specific way, because I knew there could be a couple people. And I narrowed it down to that, but then when I got down to the last chapter, I said, okay. And so I let the story tell, and that was really fun. That's
cool. Now, I feel like there's not a more authentic way to write this kind of whodunit narrative that you're going for. So, because of course, subconsciously, if you're writing something, let's say people write a murder mystery, and you know who the murderer is, there's gonna be tells in there. There's gonna be ways where the reader could kind of pick up hints and clues. So when you're writing this, if you don't even know, you're not gonna be able to give it away to the reader.
Exactly, and like I have to have a preconceived notion of like, okay, it could be this, but then when I got to the end, I thought, oh wow, this, and
cool.
It just was like one of those wow moments. So I hope the readers like it.
No, I'm blown away with that answer, because, of course, I'm not an author. I just talked to them on a Facebook chat. So, but reading so many books and being a bookworm, you just assume that the author's in on everything the whole time, and the author's kind of pulling the strings, which they are. But it is cool to think that you were kind of like in the dark, like maybe it could be this person, maybe it could be. That's cool to think about, and I appreciate that as such a fan of reading and literature.
Oh, cool. Thank you. That's
no problem at all. And another question I had for you, and this is when I was doing my Mitchel Street research. I saw that you grew up in rural Wisconsin. That's correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you had to have some pretty beautiful scenic views. Was there a place you went to read or write that was outdoors and you kind of just, it was your spot, or was it just kind of all over the place and you just enjoyed being in nature?
Wow, I feel like you know me already. Yes, that's exactly. In the story, Piper, the lead character, has a forest across the street from her, and I was extremely lucky to grow up like that.
That's cool.
I had a full forest across the street from me, so every day I went to the forest and I would sit there. I'd do my homework. I would hang out with the birds and the trees. And I fell in love with trees. So yeah, that. It really, I'm affected by nature quite a bit, and I feel very, very fortunate to be able to have done that. That's cool. No, I was hoping you had an answer like that, because I live in Jersey, so it's not as scenic, but we still have really, like, the fall is beautiful here. So when it's fall time, I always associate that with reading, because just the leaves are changing. I just feel like it's meant to be. So when I was looking and researching on you, I saw that you grew up in such a seemingly beautiful scenic area. So I was like, I hope he has a really cool story with how he read or wrote. So I'm very happy that you gave You've been giving nothing but perfect answers, Mitchell, so you're going to spoil me for the next interview. Oh, wonderful. That would be wonderful. Yes. Thank you. No problem at all. And we'd love to have you back on the show anytime, especially when you're coming out with Metaphase. So I know the next 6 months are going to be crazy and a blur for you, but as soon as you release the book, come back on. We can talk about that as well. I truly appreciate you coming on and spending this time with us. Hey, thank you so much. I love you guys, and I'll definitely be back. Thank you so much, Mitchell. Also, where can everyone find you? Can Twitter, Facebook, let them know. Facebook, Mitchel Street, and at MitchelStreet.com, on Twitter as well, Mitchel Street, and Instagram as well under Piper Walker. Oh, awesome. Perfect. I love it. That's awesome. That's great. Okay. All right, Mitchell, have a great one. No problem. Take care. Thanks again. Bye-bye. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Mitchel Street. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like our Facebook page. And I will see you all next Thursday.